which then demanded that she needed to take the first flight out to attend to the matter. But I see she is connected, like she said she will be, in respect of the meeting, will connect, but she may not be able to contribute in the discussions. But I don't want to say, I hope I'm correct, I'm representing her well. She won't be able to be active participant, one, because of the issues that she needs to attend to, but secondly, herself is not in a good state of mind. So I hope I'm putting it correctly with the manner that it is. If that is the case, it means therefore, Babu Mpele, you are on your own.
Sorry, Chair. Another apology from Mama Linga. She's also experiencing electricity problems, but I see she just logged in now, so she might not be able to participate fully.
Hey, we're in trouble, eh? We're in trouble. Let's try. I would have loved to start with something else. Ari, can we flash the agenda? Everything is up to you. DMRE, we can't change the agenda for now. Can I request that we try our level best, even if we are logged in? We need to adopt the Jagersfontein report. I will request that some members we must try and log in, even if we are in other meetings, just for the sake of this report, because it's quite critical for the community of Jagersfontein. Without any further delays, can I give to you the DMRE to make your presentation?
Good morning, Chairperson, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, Deputy Minister, and colleagues. Chairperson, we will take the first presentation on the responses or the actions by the department on the report by the Human Rights Commission. But as part of that presentation, DDG Makobela will also comment on the presentation by MACUA and WAMUA. Over to you, DDG Makobela.
Thank you very much, DG. I hope I'm audible. Good morning, Honorable Chair and honorable members, Honorable Deputy Minister, DG and colleagues, and also the staff of the committee, and those in attendance this morning. I'm going to request that the presentation be flighted, and I see that that is being done now. As DG has indicated, we'll be starting with the response to what the Human Rights Commission had presented to the Portfolio Committee. Now, the first thing that we would want to indicate is that in general, we found that the Human Rights Commission was focused particularly on artisanal and small-scale mining in terms of the representation. Now, what we want to indicate, and you will see in the slides that follow, is that the Human Rights Commission in general, if we stick to this slide, the focus was on artisanal mining. However, I think there was a lack of recognition of what has since happened. And I think we will talk to that as we go on to the next slides. So as the members of the committee would recall, the Human Rights Commission hosted a roundtable hosted a roundtable discussion on illegal mining, and then also to understand the artisanal mining tragedy that happened at Pontekwe mine. And then there was then the investigative hearing that was hosted in 2015. And we were also, as DMRE, one of those departments that then had to submit oral testimonies as well as submissions to the Human Rights Commission. At the time, it was DMR on our side before the two departments were merged. If we move on to the next slide, and I think I won't spend too much time, is that we list there with the findings where the Human Rights Commission indicated that there was a lack of research, there was poor understanding of the profile, and that, Zamazamas, do not start by wanting to be involved in criminal activity, and then that they were not all non-nationals or illegal immigrants. And the list is as indicated there. The fact that the MPRDA has failed to prevent criminal and dangerous practices was one of the findings. And that it is also linked to other forms. Now, there was also a finding from the Human Rights Commission that, of course, artisanal mining has the potential to create jobs, which I think we do agree with. And then that there were human rights violations that accompanied that. So if we move on to the next slide, we just do a pictorial effectively of the findings. Next slide, please. Can you move on to the next slide? Okay, yeah, I think this one in particular, yes, thank you. So what we then did as a department, we wanted to take each finding and then say what has been done by the department. Now, what the Human Rights Commission had indicated was that there's lack of research and literature on the issue of artisanal and small-scale mining in South Africa. As a department, there was then a comparative study that was conducted by us in the countries that are listed there, Kenya, Ghana, and Zambia. And the learnings from those then assisted us in the development of the artisanal and small-scale mining policy. Now, as I indicated when I started, I think there was no recognition in the presentation that there is now a policy that has been finalized. So I think there was a response on the side of the department that there must be a framework, and that framework, yes, may have taken longer, but at the end of the day now that is in place. On the second finding, that there's poor understanding of the profile of Zamazamas. I think what we want to indicate here is that a profiling of Zamazamas, in our view, is not necessarily a departmental issue, because what we are finding 90% of the time is that these are not artisanal and small-scale miners. In 90% of the cases that we find is that these are illegal miners. And so as a department, we don't call those people Zamazamas. We call them illegal miners, and they are engaging in criminal activity. And we, as government, then have decided that we will deal with them as such. So there is a national coordination strategic management team that is focusing on illegal mining. And I think that task team is hard at work to try and deal with the scourge of illegal mining. Now, the third finding was that not all Zamazamas began with the intention of becoming involved in criminal syndicates. I think the statement can be true. However, if I go to an operation that was conducted in the Northern Cape recently, where over 300 illegal miners were arrested, 98% of those were basically illegal immigrants. Now, for us, it can't be correct to equate, illegal mining to artisanal and small-scale mining. It is our view that illicit mining is a criminal offense and should not be equated to a job creation, because those people, in any case, they are the same people that terrorize communities. So that is our lived experience, and that was what we found in most of the cases. If you go to Free State, if you go to Gauteng, if you go to Northern Cape, I think it is linked directly to illegal immigration. Now, this then also talks to the next finding, the finding that not all Zamazamas are non-nationals. Well, I think it is true that there are some South Africans that are involved, but we think that as our evidence is showing, these people that engage in illegal mining, they tend to be illegal immigrants. I think the NPA and the police can attest to this, as well as Home Affairs. Now, the next finding was that the MPRDA is one of those legislations that have failed to prevent criminal activity and dangerous practices. We do want to acknowledge that we have observed gaps in the MPRDA, particularly when it comes to criminalizing illegal mining. So those gaps have been identified by ourselves as well as the team from the legal team from SAPS. And we are currently working to amend the legislation to include even, deterrent in as far as, repeat offenses are concerned. So that will come as an amendment to the committee once finalized. If we move on to the next page, there was a recognition from the Human Rights Commission that artisanal and small-scale mining is linked to other forms of criminality, such as thieving of cables. Now, I guess where we disagree with this statement is the fact that it is not artisanal and small-scale mining that is linked to other forms of criminal activity. It is illicit mining that is linked to these other criminal activities. So that's where the difference, okay, thank you. So that is where I think our difference is with the Human Rights Commission. I think generally what we found is that to try and equate artisanal and small-scale mining to illegal mining, I think is not our understanding, because we understand artisanal and small-scale mining to be referring to rudimentary forms of mining by people that, use, methods that are non-mechanical. And those people are now going to be enabled, now that we have a policy. We just need to then move the policy and make sure that in the legislative framework, there is a way of actually enabling artisanal and small-scale mining. However, illegal mining will never be enabled through legislation. That cannot happen. Now, the fact that the artisanal mining process have the potential to create jobs, we fully agree with this one. And we note, if we're talking about artisanal mining process, then illegal mining contributing to human rights violations, I think we note that, and it is also then the lived reality of South Africans that they are being threatened by these illegal miners, and we fully agree with that finding, and hence the involvement of the law enforcement services to try and eradicate that. Now, if we move on to the recommendations, again, I may sound like I'm repeating myself. The recommendation that was made by the Human Rights Commission was that artisanal mining cannot be eradicated if poverty persists. Now, we think that artisanal mining should not be eradicated. Artisanal mining should be enabled. What needs to be eradicated is illegal mining. So that's where the difference is between us in terms of understanding. We should be enabling artisanal mining. and it will actually assist in eradicating poverty, alleviating unemployment, and also inequality. So I think it is, again, perhaps the semantics and lack of understanding of or actually equating illegal mining to artisanal mining. The current legislation does not properly provide for artisanal mining. I think we agree with that. And we have therefore started the process with the gazetting of the artisanal and small-scale mining in March 2022. The fact that the research needs to be continued to make sure that we increase the scope of artisanal mining. We agree fully with that, and I think we will continue to expand our research as we had started with going to these other countries that have had successes. One country that also I think we need to include here is Tanzania. The building of profiles was allocated to us as the department. Now, this was a recommendation from the Human Rights Commission. We don't have the capacity to do profiles. Profiling of criminal activity is done by law enforcement, and they have already started doing that. The recommendation on opportunities that artisanal mining can offer, as we indicated, there is now the policy, and we've tried to rectify the shortcoming that was there before. As I move towards a conclusion with the last two recommendations, the last two recommendations were that social conditions such as poverty and unemployment should be monitored by way of implementation of development plans. We think that the social and labor plans, cater for that, and we fully agree with that recommendation. That the state must take, this is the last recommendation, the state taking a firm stance in addressing the extent to which illegality pervades. We again note that recommendation and we fully agree with that. So I think in conclusion, what I would indicate, Chairperson and honorable members, is that what we found in the presentation was that there were these differences in understanding or equating illegal mining to artisanal and small-scale mining. And then it tended then to, lead to differences between ourselves and the Human Rights Commission on how we approach some of the issues. So I would want to leave it there on the Human Rights Commission report. If I may, I don't know if I still have the floor, DG.
Yes.
The only thing I can say about Makubela is that I don't know what happened to your presentation.
Yeah.
Towards the end, it disappeared on the screen.
Yes, Chair, I also noticed that I was not driving the presentation. I really sincerely apologize, Chair. Can
the person then try and because the next part, it's almost the same. Can the person reload again? You are going to which part now? The DA, GSA, or?
The next one will.
Apologies, Chairperson, I wanted to suggest that Makubela just comment on the presentation that was requested on responses to MACUA and WAMUA's presentation, yes, and then we can move to the one on AGSA.
It's up to you which one is to start with.
Yeah.
Okay. No, thank you very much, FG. Thank you, Chair. I think the MACUA and the WAMUA presentation, I must indicate that we don't have a presentation in response to that, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. Partly because we found it difficult to respond to some of the statements that were made, because some of them we found that they tended to be one dealing with I guess making political statements, if I can put it like that. And there were also areas where we felt they were, addressing the weaknesses in how then communication generally is done with communities. And we just found it very difficult to actually respond point by point to some. I mean, just to give an example, there is a statement that says that the MPRDA has failed, and it's a broad statement. Now, in our view, a lot still needs to be achieved in improving the lives of people. However, to say that the MPRDA has failed, we think it is, it does not take into account the fact that the MPRDA has enabled quite a number of historically disadvantaged South Africans, one, to enter the space by way of employment, but also in terms of actively being engaged in the mining sector. So I think yes, more could have been done, but I think that the legislation itself was a groundbreaking legislation. The fact that there are some failures in terms of monitoring its implementation and enforcing it, should not be a reason to throw away such a groundbreaking piece of legislation in our view. I mean, one of the things that the legislation has been able to achieve is they may look small. However, we now have in our major mining companies, we have in the order of 50% people in management that are historically disadvantaged South Africans. You have some of the top companies in the country being run by women. So we can't say that it has failed. Yes, more could have been done. That I think we recognize. Then the other issue was that for us, the audits that were conducted, Chair, would require a lot of audits that were done on social and labor plan, would require more time for us to verify some of the assertions that were made in that presentation, because what we found, for example, if I can give one example that was highlighted, Ivan Platz as a mine. I think in terms of their compliance with the social and labor plan, there were projects that were completed, but those are not necessarily recognized here in the presentation that was made by MACUA and WAMUA. Also, what we wanted to bring to the committee was the fact that as directed by the minister, we had a workshop in March last year with MACUA and WAMUA in March 2021 to take them through the SLP. It was actually a whole day workshop. And that whole day workshop effectively, in our view, also empowered them to undertake the exercise that they did. What we would have preferred is that perhaps they also then take us through the findings that they had made, so that we are then able to explain perhaps some of the issues that they were raising about lack of consultation. We know that there can be improvements in consultation. However, there is consultation that takes place, and municipalities are involved, communities are involved. I think part of if one looks at the presentation that was made, part of the challenges is that when projects are handed over, the upkeep of those projects becomes a problem. And then you'd find that then when they go and do a spot check, then there's dilapidation of the actual infrastructure that has been put into place, or there is vandalism that has taken place. And those are things that I guess once a project is handed over, it becomes difficult for the mining company to then maintain security over those projects. So I think, Chair and honorable members, we would need a guidance on perhaps this one, because we felt that it really caused us a bit of difficulty.
Chair. Sorry, Mr. Makubele, through you, Chair. The department is experiencing some challenges in putting the presentation. So Ari now is connecting it. Thanks.
Okay.
So, Chair, maybe just in conclusion, on this one, we did not prepare a detailed presentation. We just wanted to talk to the approach, and that to also indicate that we remain open to engage with MACUA and WAMUA, going forward, as we did when we had the one-day workshop on SLPs. I would leave it there. Thanks, Chair. Thanks, DG.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Makubele. Chair, we will then move to the AGSA report, and the report will be presented by the Chief Director responsible for rehabilitation of derelict and ownerless mines in that DMRE. Over to you, Ndadimwati.
No, thank you, DG. Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Losipo, honorable members present, the Honorable Minister Mantashe in absentia, the Honorable Deputy Minister Dr. Ngabani, DMR Executive Present, good morning. The presentation which I'm going to be doing, it's related to the presentation made to the Portfolio Committee by the AGSA. And the focus or the table of contents covers the introduction, the focus areas for the performance audit, which is the strategic and operational planning, the DNO mine database management project implementation, monitoring and maintenance of rehabilitation projects, communication and coordination, and impact of the derelict and ownerless mines on the lived experience of citizens, and then the conclusion. Next slide, please. Honorable Chair, the purpose, like I've just indicated, of this is to brief the Portfolio Committee after being called to present to them on the performance audit done by the AGSA. And I think, Honorable Chair, it's very important that we take note that this resulted as a result of a letter of engagement which the department received from the Office of the Auditor-General in 2019 in respect of the 2009 follow-up performance audit on the rehabilitation of derelict and ownerless mines. And I think it also, honorable members, honorable Chair, and the Deputy Minister, it's very important that we take also note that the audit had to recognize what was debated or agreed to in 2009. I think one of the things which I think I need to spell out in this slide is that the audit was to be completed in the 2019-2020 financial year. However, due to COVID-19, it was completed in the 2021-2022, just the year which has passed. I think the statement is very important because I will be retrieving this because it has implications on some of the actions which the department had to do. Next slide. Next slide, okay. Right, now as I indicated, in 2009, the AG looked into the 5 areas of the audit. Firstly, is the strategic and operational planning. And the second one was the DNO mine database management. The third was the project implementation, monitoring and maintenance of rehabilitation projects, as well as the communications. So in the 2019 audit, the focus was mainly on the 5 broad areas of the audit. Then I go into each and every one of the focus areas. The first one, strategic and operational planning. One of the issue which was
Am I alone?
No, it looks like we lost in the demo. I was just trying to check on the sidebar if he's still in the meeting, and I don't see him. Maybe, Chair, I will continue with the slide until he rejoins the meeting. What he was presenting on the Chairperson and members is on the findings under the strategic and operational planning. On the first finding there, which was basically the finding by the AG that there hasn't been a review of the strategy every 5 years. The department has noted the decision, and the department will be revising the strategy, and we are hoping to have the strategy finalized during the next financial year. The other finding was in relation to the inclusion of the DNO outcomes and indicators in the departmental 5-year strategic plan. How we have dealt with this is to, while it was not in the 5-year strategic plan, we have included this project in the outcomes and indicators in the current APP and the performance contracts and work plans of the officials. So this has been effected in the current financial year. The third finding was the need for us to finalize the national mine closure strategy. In this regard, the implementation plan has been completed, and it was completed in March. And the plan is to have its implementation also concluded in this current financial year. With regard to the rehabilitation oversight committee, following up on the follow-up decisions that were made, we have committed to finalize and conclude the terms of reference for the rehabilitation oversight and have them signed off before the end of this year. And we have also committed, as part of the process that the AG undertook, to follow up on all the decisions of the committee that were previously taken. I see that Dno is back in the meeting. Dno, you can take off from here. I had just presented on this current slide in terms of the strategic and operational planning issues that the AG had flagged.
Okay, no, thanks. My apologies, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members. The system is from my laptop, so I've just joined with my mobile phone. If you could just go back to that slide. Okay. I think it is very important that I know that the DG has already shared some thoughts on this one. The review of the DNO strategy, what was expected of the department as of the strategy which was developed by the department in 2009 was that it will then be reviewed, but every 5 years. However, this was not done, and after the decision of the department engagement with the AG, we have decided that this would be reviewed in the current financial year, which is 2022-2023. Actually, there was an incorrect number given the year. I think, Honorable Chair, maybe just indicate to the members what actually transpired. You will recall, honorable members, that around 2013-2014, there was a need to review the MPRDA, specifically to move the environmental component of the MPRDA to the National Environmental Management Act. This was done precisely with an intention to do what we call one-stop service, through which the Department of Mineral Resources
will issue the licenses, and the Department of Environmental Affairs will become an appeal authority. So during that specific time, several legislations were amended, including the MPRDA. And that has had implications on us as the DNO team or the DMR in reviewing the strategy at that particular time. So we had to wait for that exercise, because that was going to somewhat have an impact on the exercise. We did explain this to the AG. However, we also undertook that going forward, we will review this strategy. And the second one, I know that again, the DG has taken us through this exercise. Auditor-General says that, yes, he does recognize that the department has established a unit responsible for derelict and ownerless mines, and there are officials in there. However, what he noted was that in 2008, 2018 and 2019, the derelict and ownerless mines were not part of the APP, but rather were captured under the AOP. And he then recommended that this should actually be part of the annual performance plan. Further, that the officials' contract and performance and work plans should include deliverables of the strategy. And then the other one also, which he mentioned as part of the finding, is the need to finalize the national mine closure strategy. I must indicate this has been finalized in March 2022. So that has been done as expected by the Auditor-General, or as mentioned by the Auditor-General. The last one in this slide is related to the Rehabilitation Oversight Committee. Now, for the sake of the members, maybe it is very important that we take note that the executives of the department and the entities sit together and monitor or do an oversight of the derelict and ownerless mines. What the AG noted in this audit was that there has not been follow-up on certain decisions which have been made by the oversight committee. And secondly, that the terms of reference have not been signed off. And we have since corrected this exercise. Next slide. Now, in this slide, this is related to the movement or migration of the database from the Council for Geoscience to the department. I think it's also very important to take note that although after 2009, the department appointed Council for Geoscience to not only do the inventory, but also to assist in developing the database. There was a need that this particular database move to the department at a particular time. And the executives within the department, our principals, made a decision in 2018, 2019 to move this particular database to the department. This process was supposed to have been completed in the 2020-2021 financial year. However, we know that during that year, we had the challenge of COVID-19, and this could not take place. However, this has since been moved to the department, and the officials within the department have been trained. We can say to honorable members present right now that the database is being updated to address some of the gaps which the AG had identified. in this instant. Next slide. Now, in this slide, the Auditor-General looked into the files which are kept by both Council for Geoscience and Mintech, and then transferred to the department, which are supposed to be part of the database. In other words, when you open the database, you should be able to see the project files. So what he noted is that some of the technical information was not present. The recommendation was that there needs to be standard operating procedures to ensure that the project files, technical project information is contained in the files. We have since developed this standard operating procedures to ensure that once the rehabilitation has taken place, this information then is loaded into the database. I must also indicate, Honorable Chair and Honorable members, that the colleagues at the present moment within the department are loading some of this information which the AG has found gaps. Again, as second finding under this project implementation, Auditor-General noted that there have been several unrests which resulted in delays in the rehabilitation of our asbestos mines, specifically in Limpopo. I think we have previously reported this incidents which happened in Limpopo. This has been a serious challenge. We do have the stakeholder management framework. However, the AG then says this stakeholder management framework needs to be updated. Although in us trying to unlock the challenges which we encountered, we did, for example, consult the COCTA. We did consult other stakeholders, for example, Department of Environmental Affairs in this instance. But the AG then says in 2019-2021 audit says all those factors needs to be, all that information needs to be factored within the stakeholder engagement process. So we have since updated the stakeholder engagement process to reflect those mechanisms which will assist us in unlocking this. I must indicate, Honorable Chair, whilst on this, that it's a serious challenge which we are facing, especially in projects which are in tribal authorities. The projects which are referred to in here, one of the challenges which we are the communities is grappling with is the fact that some communities do not recognize the chief. However, when we do rehabilitation, the first call in terms of our stakeholder engagement process, we go to the municipality and we involve the manager, the town manager. We involve even the political heads in this instance. Councillors are also involved. And then through the municipality, we go to where we have the tribal authority. We go together with the municipality to the tribal authority recognized. And we have gone to the tribal authority, but the community in this instance says to us, unfortunately, we do not recognize this tribal authority or this chief. We have this particular chief. We want this particular chief to be recognized and not the other one. And these are some of these are some of the challenges which unfortunately becomes a problem on our side. And that is why we had to involve the portfolio committee within the province. They had to come and also address this from the Limpopo legislature. And secondly, the COCTA had to come in also to help us address this. However, this has since been addressed but it keeps on appearing as a challenge. Next slide. This slide, Honorable Chair and honorable members, is about the monitoring and maintenance of rehabilitation projects. AG does recognize that indeed, after the 2009, there has been some monitoring taking place whereby both Council for Geoscience had done what we call air pollution monitoring, water pollution, as well as land pollution. But he then says that until that 2021, we had rehabilitated 27 of the asbestos sites. And in terms of the records, CGS had not done monitoring in all of these sites. So AG needed recommendation in the 2021 audit says that this needs to be speeded up. So the same applies with the MINTEC. MINTEC, after it has rehabilitated the sites, especially the holdings or the shafts, what it does monitor if there has been any tampering which is taking place. And then where there is tampering, then the work is being redone. However, AG has found that there has been some instances where even though there has been some work done in terms of closing of those shafts, the shafts remained opened. And he then recommended that this also be looked at seriously. This is, I must indicate, Honorable Chair and honorable members, this is being looked at as part of the strategy on dealing with illegal mining. Now, the second part, which the Auditor-General under this particular finding also mentioned, he mentions the issue of illegal mining, that we need to do something about this exercise. And what we have done, like I've indicated here, in order to deal with illegal mining related challenges, the department, together with MINTEC, participate in the National Coordinating Strategic Management Team, and hotspots information is being shared with the other government departments. And as mentioned previously, this forum, which I've just referred to, that's where, amongst others, you'll find the police serving in here, and as well as the Directorate of Priority Crime Investigation. The last comment, Honorable Chair and honorable members, is that there are officials within the department who also participate in the monitoring and evaluation of these sites. However, the team is so small to an extent that really the work is just huge. So there is a need, therefore, to beef up the team within the DMR also, to be able to especially do what we call on-site monitoring. Next slide. The next part of the audit is related to communication and coordination. Now, Auditor-General in 2009, I must indicate that when they consulted the department, reference was made that the derelict and ownerless mines communication program will be dealt with through the government task team. However, I think there was an oversight in the 2009 audit. And we did indicate